Well, ladies and gentlemen, the peaceful protests are officially back. This weekend in Los Angeles, we saw something truly despicable. And I think Eric Doherty here sums it up quite well, that this here is the most radicalizing photo that could have possibly emerged in 2025. Now, this has led to some insane series of events. One, to where the Trump administration is actually flirting with the idea of arresting Gavin Newsom. Now, can that actually be a possibility? I don't know, but between Tom Homan's response and Trump's response, I think that he better be careful what he wishes for. And we're going to get into that. But just take a look at this image right here and tell me that this is not what Eric says, the most radicalizing picture of 2025. I mean, you have someone waving the Mexican flag, defiant, with smoke going everywhere after pure destruction was on the streets of Los Angeles from all these protests and riots because ICE was just simply doing their job and getting rid of illegal immigrants. Just like, again, if you're here illegally, I know that some stories are different. Some people are not going out there committing murders, but at the end of the day, we have a country, we have laws, and it needs to be followed. And this picture here is just one of the most despicable things I've seen. So before we get into it, my name is Clayton Kearns from TrendingPolitics.com. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. So let's get into it. So as I said, President Trump is sitting here and, Tom Homan, threw out the idea of like, well, if Gavin Newsom is going to be, disobeying federal orders, then maybe we should look at arresting him. And Gavin Newsom plays an interesting game. He actually dares Tom Homan and Trump to arrest him, which, again, be careful what you wish for because these are men of their word. And I don't know if these are the people that you actually want to be playing up to. So let's take a look at this crazy clip.
He's been here 10 years. The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
The perception is there's a...
Okay, so he's saying arrest, and he says, oh, well, they've just taken this out of proportion. They've just taken it out of proportion. So this is also, Gavin Newsom actually is suing the Trump administration. This just happened a couple hours ago. So this rhetoric is ramping up in a big way. So not only did Gavin Newsom, is he allowing this to happen under his watch, but now he is saying that he is going to sue President Trump and the Trump administration. He says, we're suing Donald Trump. This is a manufactured crisis. Again, take a look at this picture and tell me if it's manufactured or not. He is creating fear and terror to take over a state militia and violate the U.S. Constitution. The illegal order he signed could allow him to send the military into any state he wishes. Every governor, red or blue, should reject this outrageous overreach. There's a lot of hyperbole out there. This isn't that. This is an unmistakable step towards authoritarianism that threatens the foundation of our republic. We cannot let it stand. Okay, buddy. ALX said, you defend the millions of illegal aliens actively breaking the law in your state. You are not a serious person, Gavin. Graham Allen says, you belong in prison for what you have done to California. And so, as I said, Trump, Gavin Newsom is sitting here taunting the Trump administration, saying, go ahead, arrest me. Well, here's what Trump had to say about that.
Gavin Newsom he's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget.
And so, Trump straight up says, if I was Tom, I would do it. I would do it. And I love how he says he would arrest him, but then he's a nice guy. He's just grossly incompetent, and that goes along with the what happened today, because this whole thing about Gavin Newsom being arrested is just going everywhere, and the reporters are losing their minds over it. And they said, "Well, what crime is Gavin Newsom guilty of that would lead to his arrest?" And Trump had this to say.
A crime has he committed? I think his primary crime is running for governor, because he's done such a bad job. What he's done to that state is like what Biden did to this country. And that's pretty bad. It's the wrong philosophy. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants, many of them prisoners. They're taking up your health care. They're taking up your space in schools. They're taking up your hospital. And in many cases, they're criminals.
Again, I mean, he actually makes a great point. And I know that, like, legally speaking, like, there's like really no way that you could arrest Gavin Newsom for certain things. Now, there are certain things with this weekend that who knows. But think about how truly criminal it really is to prioritize illegal immigrants, some of them straight up criminals, okay? Now, we know that there are people who cross the border illegally, and that is a crime. But there are people who cross the border illegally, or they overstay their visas illegally, and then they go on to commit crimes, like actual murder, rape, theft, all this kind of stuff, which is 10 times worse. Any country has problems with their own crime. We don't need to be importing any crime whatsoever. But that's what California has done. And worst of all, they've looked the other way. And then they have created all these sanctuary cities, San Francisco, LA, all these big cities with millions of people packed into it, to where the federal government can't necessarily do their job all the time. So finally, when we do our job, it's somehow a big hassle. And they are like violating these orders. And if you're wondering what Tom Homan had to say about Gavin Newsom, basically threatening him or taunting him, saying, "Go ahead and arrest me," he says no one is above the law. And that is not the response you were hoping to hear from Tom Homan if you're Gavin Newsom.
Tom, what's your response?
Well, first of all, it's just ridiculous. That reporter from SMBC, he's a joke. He's a dishonest reporter. What we discussed was, for those protesters that cross the line, I've said it many times, you can protest, you get your First Amendment rights. But when you cross that line, you put hands on an ICE officer, or you destroy property, or I say that you impede law enforcement, or you're knowingly harboring and concealing illegal alien, that's a crime. And the Trump administration is not going to tolerate it. You cross that line, we're going to seek prosecution in the Department of Justice. Then the reporter asked me, well, could Governor Newsom or Mayor Bass be arrested? I said, well, no one's above the law. If they cross the line and commit a crime, absolutely they can. So there was no discussion about arresting Newsom. And so, what he's done, he's failed that state. He waited 2 days of that city burning and people getting hurt, officers being assaulted, before he made any declaration of an unlawful assembly. He's late to the game. President Trump isn't late to the game. Men and women of ICE are not late to the game. And let's make this clear. I keep hearing this term ICE raids, ICE raids. What happened with how this riot started is that ICE was serving a series of criminal warrants at a business being investigated for money laundering, customs fraud, and serious violations on sending money to criminal cartels that in Colombia and Mexico that fund criminal cartel activities in the United States. It's a part of an overall conspiracy that ICE is investigating. So we're arresting bad people. We were enforcing laws and following up on a serious criminal investigation on cartel financing. So that's exactly what ICE did. And ICE took a lot of bad people off the street that day. We arrested a sexual predator, arrested gang members, arrested somebody that had an armed robbery conviction. So we made LA safer. The men and women at ICE, the men and women at the Border Patrol made LA safer that day. But you're not hearing any of this. All you hear is a rhetoric about ICE being racist and ICE being Nazis and terrorists. And Governor Newsom feeds that. Just like Hakeem Jeffrey feeds it, that he's going to unmask ICE agents. And the members of Congress who keep feeding this rhetoric, they're the ones that are causing this riot, because they don't listen to the truth about what the men and women at ICE are doing. We're keeping our promise to American people to make these streets safe again. And that's exactly what we're going to do, and we're not going to stop doing it.
So, as we said, So I had the video there out of sequence. So Tom Homan didn't sit there and say, hey, we're going to arrest you, Gavin Newsom. But he did say, like, hey, no one's above the law. So he didn't rule out arresting Gavin Newsom. But it's like, you see all the destruction that's happening. And he's allowing it to happen. He's claiming that this is a manufactured crisis. I'm sorry, but how can Gavin Newsom look at this picture and say that it's a manufactured crisis? I mean, this is now, we're going on basically the third day of these riots, of these crazy things that are happening. And for you to sit there and say that this is manufactured, and for you to not sit there and denounce violence and denounce the destruction of property, it's absolutely despicable. And so I don't know what happens next here, but this feud just got a lot worse between Gavin Newsom and Trump and the Trump administration. And I don't know what's going to happen next. As I said, Gavin Newsom just says they're suing Trump. Okay, well, you can't really stop him from enforcing the law and sending military in when the National Guard, when you are doing nothing about stopping these people. So let me know what you think about this insane story in the comments below. There is so much more to get to, and I will keep giving you those details as the story progresses. But wow, I mean, at the end of the day, I wanted to say I can believe it, or that I can't believe it, but I actually can believe it, because after we've seen how Democrats have ruined this country over the last many years, this is fully expected. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you next time.